I surprised my parents with a luxury Europe trip, but when I picked them up for the airport, they said they weren't going. I spent 18 months eating cold leftovers, skipping every social event, and driving a Honda with a taped-up bumper just to save $15,000 for my parents' dream anniversary trip, only to have them kick me off the itinerary 3 days before the flight so they could take my unemployed sister instead. They thought they were getting a free European luxury vacation on my dime. What they got was a masterclass in consequences that left them stranded in a foreign country with absolutely nothing but their audacity. You have to understand, this wasn't just a trip. This was supposed to be the thank you for a lifetime of sacrifice. But in my family, thank you is a foreign concept, and entitlement is the mother tongue. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can really feel the weight of what happened. Growing up, the dynamic in the Weber household was crystal clear. There was Elsa, the golden child, the baby, the fragile flower who needed constant watering. And then there was me, Christian. The reliable one. The steady one. The one who didn't need anything because he had it together. It started small. If there was one cookie left, Elsa got it because she'd cry if she didn't. If we were both saving for a toy, my parents would match her savings, but tell me that earning it myself would build character. By the time we were adults, the pattern was set in stone. I was the safety net. Elsa was the trapeze artist who kept falling. Elsa is 35 years old. In the last 2 years, she has been fired from 3 different jobs. First, it was a marketing gig where she claimed her boss was toxic because he expected her to show up on time. Then, it was a nonprofit where she said the energy was off. Finally, a startup let her go because, in her words, they didn't appreciate her unique creative process. Every time she failed, she boomeranged back into my parents' guest room in Oak Park, and every time, they welcomed her back with open arms and open wallets. Meanwhile, I'd been grinding. I started as a junior analyst right out of college. College I paid for with loans and 3 part-time jobs, by the way, and worked my way up to a senior project manager role. I bought my own condo in the city. I built a 401k. I drove a 10-year-old car because I prioritized financial security. To my parents, my stability didn't mean I was successful. It meant I was available resources. 6 months before the incident, my parents were approaching their 45th wedding anniversary. They had always talked about Europe. Specifically, Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. They had old photo albums of my grandparents in France in the 1950s, and my mom would trace the edges of the black and white photos with her finger, sighing about how she'd missed her chance to see the world. So, I decided to do something huge. I decided to be the good son. The great son. I secretly started saving. I stopped ordering takeout. I canceled my streaming services. I didn't take a vacation for a year and a half. I brown-bagged lunch every single day. I managed to scrape together $15,000. On the night of their anniversary, I took them out to their favorite Italian spot. We had just finished the tiramisu when I slid a thick, cream-colored envelope across the table. "Happy anniversary," I said. My mom opened it. Her hands started trembling as she pulled out the itinerary. First-class flights to Paris. A week at the Hotel Plaza Athénée, not just a room, but an executive suite with a view of the Eiffel Tower. High-speed rail to Rome. Private tours of the Vatican. Skip-the-line tickets for the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. My mother burst into tears. She covered her mouth, sobbing. My father, a man who rarely showed emotion, stood up and hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. "Christian," he choked out, his eyes wet. "You didn't have to do this. This is too much." "You raised me," I told them, feeling a lump in my own throat. "You put a roof over my head. You guys never took a real vacation. You deserve this." That night was perfect. They looked at the brochure I'd made. They talked about the wine they'd drink, the art they'd see. My mom even downloaded Duolingo the next morning to start learning French. For 6 months, that trip was all we talked about. I was the travel agent, the financier, and the logistical support. I called hotels to ensure the showers had grab bars for my dad's bad knee. I booked specific restaurants that catered to my mom's dietary restrictions. I bought comprehensive travel insurance. I poured my money, my time, and my heart into this trip. I wanted to give them magic. Then came the phone call. It was 3 days before we were scheduled to fly out. I was in my kitchen, packing my suitcase, trying to decide between two blazers when my phone rang. "Hi, sweetie," my mom said. I knew immediately. You know that tone? That overly sweet, slightly high-pitched tone people use when they're about to deliver bad news but want to frame it as a favor? That was her voice. "Hey, Mom, just packing. You guys excited?" We are," she said quickly. "But, Christian, we need to talk about the Europe trip." I stopped folding a shirt. "What about it? Did something happen to Dad?" No, Dad is fine. It's Elsa." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Okay, what's wrong with Elsa now?" "She's really struggling, Christian. She's been applying everywhere, but the job market is just terrible right now. She's so depressed. She's barely leaving her room." She paused, and I could hear her taking a deep breath. "Your father and I have been talking, and we think it would be better if she came with us instead of you." I froze. My hand was still resting on my suitcase. "I'm sorry, what?" "You understand, don't you?" she continued, rushing the words now. "You travel for work all the time. You go to those conferences. You have money, you can go to Europe whenever you want. For Elsa, this might be her only chance to see something beautiful, to get her spark back. She needs this, Christian. She needs a win." My brain was trying to process the logic. "Mom, I travel to Cleveland for work. I stay in Holiday Inns next to the highway. This is a $15,000 luxury vacation that I paid for." "We know, and we are so grateful," she said, dismissing my point entirely. "We'll pay you back eventually, I promise. But family takes care of family. Right now, your sister is the one in need." "I planned this for us," I said, my voice quiet. "I wanted to experience this with you. Don't be selfish, Christian." There it was. The trump card. The word they had used my entire life to keep me in line. If I wanted to keep the money I earned? Selfish. If I didn't want to drive Elsa to a concert 3 hours away on a work night? Selfish. "Elsa is already packing," my mother added, assuming the conversation was over. "She's so excited. It's the first time I've seen her smile in months. We'll talk more later, okay? We love you." Click. I stood in my kitchen for a long time. The silence in my condo was heavy. I looked at my open suitcase. I looked at the itinerary on my counter, the one with my name on the reservations. They hadn't asked me. They had informed me. They had taken my gift, stripped my name off it, and handed it to the person who had drained them dry for decades. They assumed that because I was strong, I didn't have feelings. They assumed that because I had money, my money was theirs to redistribute. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A cold, hard calm settled over me. It was the kind of calm you feel right before a storm breaks. "Think about it," she had said. I didn't need to think about it. I spent the next 72 hours planning something else entirely. I didn't call them back to argue. I didn't threaten them. I just went to work. The morning of the flight, I pulled into their driveway exactly on time. I saw them come out of the house. My mother was beaming, dragging a bright purple suitcase I'd never seen before. My father followed, looking at the ground, his face set in that tight, defensive grimace he wore whenever he knew he was wrong but was too weak to say anything. And then Elsa. She walked out wearing oversized designer sunglasses and a trench coat that looked brand new. She was carrying a leather weekender bag that I knew, for a fact, cost more than my car payment. She looked like she was ready for a photo shoot, not a long-haul flight. "You're late," my mom said playfully, tapping her watch. "I'm exactly on time," I said. My voice was neutral. Robotic. I popped the trunk of my SUV. I didn't offer to carry their bags, but they just stood there waiting, so I loaded them in. Heaviness settled in my stomach as I lifted Elsa's bag. It was heavy with entitlement. "We need to hurry," Elsa said, checking her phone. "I want to hit the duty-free shop before we board. I need new perfume." I got in the driver's seat. The drive to O'Hare International was excruciating. The air in the car was so thick you could choke on it. My mother kept filling the silence, chattering nervously. "Elsa was reading about the Louvre online," Mom said, patting Elsa's knee. "She wants to see the Mona Lisa first thing." "And the shopping," Elsa added, scrolling through Instagram. "I found this vintage store in the Marais that is to die for." "Dad, you said you'd help me with a few things if I found something special, right?" "We'll see," my father mumbled from the back seat. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. They were talking about spending my money. They were planning to burn through the cash I had saved, on top of the trip I had funded, while I was supposed to just drive the car. Christian, my mother said, turning to look at me. She put on that sad, puppy dog face. You're being very quiet. You're not still upset, are you? You have to understand, this is healing for Elsa. I glanced at her. I'm just focusing on the road, Mom. Good, she sighed. I knew you'd understand. You've always been the sensible one. We pulled up to the international terminal. I put the car in park and got out. I unloaded the bags onto the curb. The hustle and bustle of the airport swirled around us, cars honking, people hugging goodbye, the smell of exhaust and jet fuel. Elsa was already looking at the terminal entrance, vibrating with excitement. She didn't even look at me. Christian, thank you for understanding, my father said stiffly. He extended his hand for a handshake. A handshake. Not a hug. A formal, businesslike handshake. He couldn't meet my eyes. This really means a lot to Elsa, he added. I hope everyone gets exactly what they deserve from this trip, I said. I looked him dead in the eye when I said it. He flinched, just slightly. My mother leaned in and kissed my cheek. We'll send you pictures. Oh, and sweetie, text me the confirmation numbers and the hotel details again. I can't find the email. Don't worry, I said, a small, tight smile playing on my lips. Everything you need is in your inbox. Safe travels. Bye, Christian. Elsa yelled over her shoulder, already walking away. Thanks for the ride. I stood by my car and watched them walk through the sliding glass doors. My family. The people I would have taken a bullet for. They didn't look back. Not once. They were too focused on the luxury awaiting them. I got back in my SUV, locked the doors, and let out a long, shaky breath. Then I checked my watch. It was 1 p.m. Their flight took off at 3:30 p.m. It was an 8-hour flight to Paris. That meant I had about 11 hours before the bomb dropped. I drove home. I didn't go to work. I had taken the vacation days anyway. I figured I deserved a break. I stopped at a high-end grocery store and bought a thick ribeye steak, a bottle of expensive red wine, and some good chocolate. I went home, cooked myself a gourmet meal, and sat on my balcony watching the Chicago skyline. I felt strange. I expected to feel guilty. I expected to feel panic. But as the sun went down and the city lights came on, all I felt was a cold, dark satisfaction. I tracked their flight on an app. I watched the little plane icon cross the Atlantic Ocean. I imagined them in the business class seats I had paid for, non-refundable, sadly, so they got to enjoy the flight. I imagined them drinking champagne, toasting to their cleverness, laughing about how well things had worked out. They landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport at 8 a.m. Paris time. It was 2 a.m. in Chicago. I stayed up. I poured another glass of wine and waited. They would have to get through customs, get their bags, and take a taxi to the city. That would take about 2 hours. At 2:47 a.m., my phone rang. The screen lit up with Mom. I let it ring 3 times. I took a sip of wine. Then I answered, keeping my voice groggy, pretending I'd been asleep. Hello, Christian. My mother's voice was high, tight, and panicked. Christian, wake up. There's been a mistake. What? Who is this? Mom? Yes, it's Mom. We're at the hotel. The Plaza Athénée. It's a disaster. They're saying they don't have a reservation. I sat up straighter, dropping the sleepy act. Oh, that? Yes, that. You need to fix this immediately. The man at the desk is being so rude. He says the reservation was canceled. That's correct, I said calmly. There was a pause on the line. The kind of silence that is loud. What do you mean, that's correct, she whispered. I mean the reservation was under my name, Mom. Christian Weber. Not Otto and Martha Weber. And definitely not Elsa Weber. So, she snapped. Just call them. Tell them to transfer it to us. I could do that, I said. But I'm not going to. What? Christian, stop playing games. We have been traveling for 9 hours. We are exhausted. Elsa is on the verge of tears. Fix this right now. I stood up and walked to the edge of my balcony. Mom, listen to me very carefully. You made a choice 3 days ago. You decided that Elsa deserved this trip more than I did. You decided that my 6 months of planning, my effort, and my $15,000 were less important than giving Elsa another handout. Christian, I'm not finished. You uninvited me from my own vacation. So, I did the only logical thing. I canceled it. You canceled everything? Her voice trembled. Everything, I confirmed. The hotel in Paris. The hotel in Rome. The hotel in Barcelona. The private tours. The museum tickets. The train passes. The restaurant reservations. All of it. It was all in my name, and I canceled every single thing yesterday morning. I heard a gasp. Then I heard my father's voice in the background, angry and confused. What is he saying? Martha, give me the phone. There was a scuffle, and then my father was shouting in my ear. Christian, what the hell is going on? The concierge is telling us we have no rooms. That's right, Dad. You don't. You fix this, he growled. You call them back and you rebook these rooms right now. I can't. And I won't. The money has been refunded to my card, well, most of it. Some of it was non-refundable, but honestly, losing a couple $1,000s was worth it to teach you this lesson. Lesson? You think this is a lesson? He was screaming now. We are your parents. You abandoned us in a foreign country. I didn't abandon you. You have passports. You have credit cards. You have return tickets. I couldn't cancel those because they were in your names. You have everything you need. You just don't have my money anymore. Elsa is crying, he yelled. She's having a panic attack in the lobby. Then maybe she should use some of the coping skills she's supposed to be learning in therapy, I said coldly. Or maybe she can pay for a room with her own money. Oh wait. She doesn't have any. You are being incredibly selfish. There it is, I laughed. A harsh, dry sound. You know, Dad, you guys love that word. But you know what's actually selfish? Taking a gift worth 15 grand from the son who worked for it and giving it to the daughter who does nothing just because you can't say no to her. That is selfish. We will never forgive you for this. My mother's voice came back on the line. She was sobbing now. You have ruined this family. I didn't ruin it, Mom. I just stopped paying for the facade. I hung up. Then I did the most satisfying thing I have ever done in my life. I went into my phone settings, selected their contacts, Mom, Dad, and Elsa, and I hit block caller. I sat there for a moment, listening to the silence of my apartment. It felt different now. It didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. The next few days were a blur of peace for me and absolute chaos for them. Since I had blocked their numbers, they couldn't reach me directly. But that didn't stop them from trying. My email inbox exploded. Subject: Urgent. Call US subject. You are a horrible son subject. Legal action. I opened one from my mother. It was a wall of text. Asterisk Christian. We are staying in a youth hostel in the 19th arrondissement. It smells like mildew. Your father is having chest pains from the stress. Elsa hasn't stopped crying for 2 days. We have to count our pennies for food. How could you do this to us? We are going to report you for fraud when we get back. Asterisk. I forwarded the email to my friend Andreas, who is a lawyer. He called me 10 minutes later, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Dude, Andreas wheezed. Did she really threaten to sue you for fraud for canceling a trip you paid for? She sure did. You're fine, Andreas assured me. Legally, you're untouchable. It's your money, your name on the contract. They uninvited you. You have zero obligation to fund their vacation. Keep the emails though. They're hilarious evidence of entitlement. Thanks, man. Off the record, Andreas said, his voice turning serious. I've known you since freshman year. You're the nicest guy I know. What made you snap? I looked around my living room. I looked at the photos on my mantle, pictures of me at graduation where they left early for Elsa's drama. Pictures of my first apartment that they never visited. I just realized I told him that I was setting myself on fire to keep them warm, and they were complaining about the smoke. The flying monkeys started arriving on day 3. My Aunt Ingrid called me. She's my mom's sister and loves drama more than oxygen. Christian, she scolded. Your mother called me from a payphone. They are suffering. How can you be so cruel? They are elderly. Aunt Ingrid, I said, cutting her off. They are in their 60s, not their 90s. They are capable adults. They tried to steal a vacation from me. If you're so worried, why don't you wire them $5,000 for a hotel? She sputtered. Well, I don't have that kind of money lying around. Neither do I lied. Goodbye, Ingrid. I spent the rest of the week hiking at Starved Rock State Park. I turned off my phone. I breathed fresh air. I felt lighter than I had in years. They came back after 4 days. They couldn't afford to stay the full week, and they certainly couldn't afford the train to Rome or the hotels in Barcelona. They came back to Chicago angry, embarrassed, and looking for a fight. The smear campaign began immediately. My Uncle Frank called me. He's my dad's brother, but unlike my dad, Frank is a no-nonsense guy who runs a construction business. "Hey kid," Frank said. "Just wanted to give you a heads up. Your dad is telling everyone at the VFW that you had a psychotic break and abandoned them in Paris. He's saying you lured them there and then pulled the rug out." "I figured he would," I said. "What do you think?" I asked him who paid for the tickets. Frank chuckled. He got real quiet. I told him he was an idiot for biting the hand that feeds him. "You did good, kid. Stand your ground." 3 weeks after the failed trip, a letter arrived at my condo. Certified mail. It was from my parents. "Dear Christian, we are writing this because you refused to answer our calls. We are willing to move past this incident if you agree to the following conditions. **1. You will attend family therapy with us and Dr. Evans, Elsa's therapist. **2. You will apologize to your sister for the trauma you caused. She is now unable to look at photos of France without having a panic attack. **3. You will reimburse us for the $4,347.89 we spent on the hostel, emergency food, and flight change fees. We are your parents. We raised you, fed you, and put a roof over your head. You owe us respect. If you do not agree to these terms, you are no longer welcome in our lives. Love, Mom and Dad." I read the letter twice. I looked for a shred of self-awareness. I looked for an apology for uninviting me. There was nothing. Just demands and guilt trips. I sat down at my computer and typed my response. "To Martha and Otto, I received your letter. Here is my response. No to therapy. No to apologies. No to reimbursement. You raised me, fed me, and housed me because that is the legal requirement of being a parent. You do not get a participation trophy for not neglecting your child. I owe you nothing beyond the childhood you provided. Regarding the money, you tried to take advantage of me. You gambled that I was too weak to stand up for myself. You lost. Consider the $4,000 you spent the cost of tuition for the lesson you just learned. I am not your ATM. Do not contact me again. If you continue to harass me, I will pursue a restraining order. Christian." I mailed it back. Then, I had Andreas draft a formal cease and desist letter and sent that too, just to make sure they knew I wasn't playing. The silence that followed was deafening. And it was beautiful. Years went by. It's been 8 years since Paris. My life looks completely different now. Without the emotional and financial drain of my family, I flourished. I got promoted to director of operations. My salary doubled. I invested the money I used to spend on bailing them out. I met Karen at a rock climbing gym about a year after the estrangement. She's tough, funny, and incredibly kind. On our 3rd date, I told her about my family. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her I was estranged and why. She didn't look at me with pity. She nodded and said, "Good boundaries make good neighbors. Sounds like you saved yourself." I met her parents a few months later. They were terrifyingly normal. They invited me to dinner and didn't ask for a loan. They asked about my job because they were interested, not because they were calculating my net worth. When Karen and I got married 3 years later, her father gave a toast. "We didn't just gain a son-in-law," he said, raising his glass. "We gained a son. Christian, you're a man of integrity. We are proud of you." I cried. I cried because my own father hadn't spoken to me in 4 years. I cried because I finally understood what family was supposed to feel like. It wasn't an obligation. It was a safe harbor. My parents weren't invited to the wedding. Neither was Elsa. 5 years after Paris, my cousin Heidi called me. She was the only one I kept in touch with. "Christian," she said, her voice soft. "Your dad had a stroke." I felt a pang in my chest. A ghost of an old feeling. "Is he okay?" He's stable. He's in rehab. It's going to be a long road. Your mom is falling apart. She wanted me to tell you. Okay, I said. Thanks for telling me. Are you going to visit? I looked out the window of my house, a house I owned with Karen, with a nursery we were painting yellow for the baby arriving in 2 months. No, I said. He might not make it, Christian. I know. But Heidi, nothing has changed. They haven't apologized. They haven't changed. If I go back there, I'm just stepping back into the toxicity. I can't do that to myself. And I won't do that to my wife. I understand, she said. And she did. 7 years in, the news got worse. My mom was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. My dad, still recovering from the stroke, couldn't take care of her. And here is the twist of the knife, the irony that almost makes me believe in karma. Elsa stepped up, with no rich brother to bail them out, with no vacations to distract. Her reality finally hit Elsa like a freight train. She couldn't manipulate her way out of a stroke or dementia. Heidi tells me that Elsa got a job at a call center. It's not glamorous. It doesn't pay well. But she's kept it for 3 years. She moved into a small studio apartment. She goes to my parents' house every day after work to cook for them and manage their medications. She wrote me an email last year. It was the first time I'd heard from her since the airport. Christian, asterisk, I know you probably won't reply. I just wanted to say, you were right. About everything. I was a leech. I was selfish. I let mom and dad put me on a pedestal while they treated you like a servant. I'm sorry, asterisk asterisk Paris was the worst week of my life, but it was also the best thing that ever happened to me. Being stranded there, hungry and scared, made me realize I was 35 and helpless. It forced me to grow up. Asterisk asterisk mom asks for you sometimes. She forgets you're gone. Dad just stares at the wall. It's hard here. But I'm handling it. I just wanted you to know that. Asterisk Elsa, I read the email. I sat with it for a long time. I felt a flicker of pride for her, finally facing life. I felt sadness for my parents, rotting away in a house filled with memories of a family they destroyed. But I didn't reply. I deleted the email. Forgiveness is a nice concept, but closure is better. And I already had closure. Now, 8 years later, I'm sitting on my back porch. My daughter, Astrid, is 3 years old. She's chasing our golden retriever around the yard, shrieking with laughter. Karen is reading a book in the sun. My in-laws are coming over for a barbecue later. They're bringing the steaks because you cooked last time. It's our turn. I look at my life, and it is full. It is rich. Not just with money, but with love that is reciprocal. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder about those canceled reservations. I wonder if some honeymooning couple got upgraded to the executive suite at the Plaza Athénée because of a last-minute cancellation. I wonder if someone else got to stand in the Sistine Chapel with the private guide I hired. I hope they did. I hope they enjoyed every second of it. My parents wanted a vacation. They wanted a fantasy where they could have their cake and eat it too, where they could exploit my success while celebrating my sister's failure. Instead, they got reality. They got a smaller life. They got the consequences of their own choices. And me? I didn't just save $15,000. I saved my future. I didn't lose a family. I realized I never really had one to begin with. And in the space they left behind, I built something real. My daughter runs up to me, holding a dandelion. For you, Daddy, she beams. I take it like it's a diamond. Thank you, sweetie. I love you, she says, wrapping her little arms around my neck. I love you too, I whisper. And I make a silent promise to her, the same one I make every day. She will never have to earn my love. She will never be the backup plan. She will never be the ATM. She will just be Astrid. And that is the best revenge of all. The cycle ends with me.